What is going on, guys? It is another Wednesday night. I am the Solomonster. We are just days removed from AEW All In Texas, the company's biggest show of the year, post All In edition. They were in Chicago tonight. And first thing, before I even get into anything that happened on the show tonight, just best wishes to Jim Ross. Of course, you heard from Jim Ross on Saturday. They had him commentating for the last two matches of the night. It was good to hear his voice again. He's obviously been through a lot of health stuff this year. But I saw where he mentioned on his podcast that he apparently took a hell of a fall in Dallas in his hotel room. And to make matters worse, couldn't call anybody because he had left his phone in an Uber. So I don't know that he ever got himself checked out. He just went to bed that night, and he's apparently very sore, but says otherwise he's okay. So wherever JR may be, hopefully he's doing okay. Best wishes to him. As far as Dynamite tonight, I thought the show was a good mix of both in-ring action and promos. Kind of a promo-heavy show, which is fine, because now is the time for them to set up some new directions coming out of All In as we head into Forbidden Door and the remainder of the pay-per-view calendar that they have coming up this year. Unfortunately, we are still stuck with the Death Riders. Not that I expected them to just suddenly disappear magically, but there's no indication of any sort of fraying or trouble, within the ranks or anything like that. The Death Riders are still a thing. But after the main event tonight, which was a tag match, and we're getting a lot of these lately. We're getting a lot of 6-mans, 8-mans, all-star tag matches. This is like a weekly occurrence now. Hangman Page got the win in the main event. He gets attacked when the match is over. And then we get a spotlight on Darby Allin, who was up in, I guess I call it the rafters, but I mean, it was a small venue. But basically, he pulled a Sting, and he was up in the rafters. They put the spotlight on him, and he is looking down at Hangman Page and Jon Moxley, specifically Jon Moxley, because they're going to break off and go on their way. No indication of who's next for Hangman outside of the obvious, which was a pre-tape promo tonight from MJF, talking about how he has that contract now that he can cash in for a future championship match. Of course, he didn't spill the beans on when that's going to be. I don't imagine they're going to go to that right away. So if you assume there's at least one challenger in the interim, they didn't give any indication of who that would be. We have no idea who's next in line for Hangman Page after this show. We do have a better sense, though, of who may be next for Timeless Toni Storm, who was also on the show tonight and was interrupted by a backstage promo from Athena, the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, who won the Women's Casino Gauntlet on Saturday. She has the contract for a guaranteed championship match and actually signed the contract tonight, but we don't know when she plans on cashing in that contract. But they went a little heavier into the idea that maybe we're going to get that match sooner rather than later. So we had some promo work involving the two of them. We know who is up next for Okada, who beat Kenny Omega on Saturday. He is the new Unified Champion. It looks like we are headed for a Swerve Strickland Okada match very soon, possibly at Forbidden Door. Adam Copeland was on the show tonight. He was addressing FTR and Christian Cage, neither of whom were actually on the show tonight. And the Young Bucks, the poor Bucks, stripped of their EVP titles now, are just like you and me, as we got a series of segments tonight showing them arriving to the building. Just kind of what I was hoping they would do. I guess now they're just a bunch of regular folk. But again, there was enough on this show where it kind of pointed you in the direction of what's coming next for some of the key players. They didn't give too much away. This was by no means a blowaway show. Sometimes you get these post-pay-per-view episodes, whether it's WWE or AEW, and you have certain expectations for these shows as far as, is somebody new going to debut, or is there going to be some sort of major angle that gets shot, or a return or something. There really was nothing like that on the show, unless you count Darby, who already returned on Saturday. There was really nothing like that here. But I think they did enough to kind of turn the page on where we were before and start some new directions going forward. It was not a perfect show. It was not a great show, but I thought it was a good show. and they did enough of what they had to do to move the ball down the field, so to speak. This is your AEW Dynamite review. It is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. I am the Solomonster. Thank you for joining me here. We're going to get you through everything that happened on the show tonight, but do me a favor first. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button as well as we try to hit our goal for the night. Super chats are open, and any support you want to send my way or show the channel is always appreciated, and I will read all of your messages a little bit later on here.
Attention to the sicko in row 4. Look, I know you're excited to be at Dynamite tonight. It's your first show, but you can't be pulling that thing out. Okay, you got to put that away.
Fuck Triple H.
And don't think I didn't see that sign that you brought that said, I came to see AEW. That's sick. Thank you.
Oh, the sickos. Hey, Bobbert33. Thank you for the $40 super chat. Love you, Bobbert. Appreciate you. I'm going to read your message here in just a little bit. Don't go nowhere. Man, you got to put those things away. Can't take these sickos anywhere. Well, I'll tell you where they were tonight. They congregated in Chicago because tonight they were at the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. Great looking venue. I really like the aesthetic. Good acoustics. The crowd was very loud here. This was their first of 6 nights running shows here. This is their latest residency. Tony Khan's done a few of these so far. So they have a 6-night residency here in this venue. And the fans were loud all night. ECW actually ran a series of shows there back in '99. So this venue has been around for a while. It's a 100-year-old venue. So there's been some wrestling there before. This is not the first time. Tony Schiavone was in the ring to welcome the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion out to the ring, Hangman Adam Page. And it is so nice to see the actual title belt back here on this show. I mean, I've said it before, and I still feel the same way. It is the best-looking world championship in all of wrestling right now, is the AEW World title. And we haven't seen it since October. So Page has met with chants of "you deserve it" from the crowd, and he said that there's more to that chant than you can understand because you all deserve it. Every single week, the fans demanded a better version of professional wrestling. They supported a grassroots version as they started a revolution to change the world. Page wants them to know that they don't just do it for the AEW World title, but they do it for the fans who deserve to see the championship and see someone hold it that understands that connection. At All In, he walked into a war that had been going on for 9 months to free this title. Some of those who entered that war did not come out of it the same. And so he wanted to take a moment here to thank Orange Cassidy, Switchblade Jay White, Adam Copeland, the Ops, Bryan Danielson, and Darby Allin. He also needs to thank someone who made Page realize the future is bright in AEW, but he wasn't able to walk out on his own at All In, and that is Will Ospreay. So the crowd started chanting for Swerve. Start chanting Swerve's house. And after a long delay, Hangman said he doesn't know whether Swerve helped for himself or for AEW, or maybe it was a moment of weakness and he was actually doing it for Hangman. But whatever his reasons were to Swerve Strickland, he says, thank you. And if you didn't see it, Swerve on Twitter actually posted when this segment was over and said, you're welcome. So All In was a roller coaster for him. Says he's not ashamed to say that he shed not only buckets of blood, but some tears as well. He said he has millions of people watching AEW who can look to him and respect him. And if you want to know what kind of man I am, you can look at me tonight because I am the champion of the fucking world. And they censored that. And that was the opening promo. I mean, this was just a great celebratory promo from the new champion coming out of All In. Page is that guy now. And to think, he almost wasn't. Tony Khan did an interview with Q101. And you might see certain quotes coming out of that interview because he talked about a bunch of different things. But he was asked point blank, was Hangman always the guy who was planned to beat Jon Moxley and win the AEW World Championship? And Tony paused and he said, I don't have to answer that. No, you don't. The non-answer is the answer I think that people were looking for. So you made the right choice. I'm glad he pivoted to a different direction and it all worked out because Hangman was, in fact, the right choice. We got a big video package. They didn't open the show with this, but it came after this segment. They had a video package, very well done, showing highlights from All in Texas, set to Machine Head by Bush, highlighting various facts about the event, that it was their highest attended North American event, highest gate in AEW history, a bunch of social media accomplishments. Then we go to a vignette where we see Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, who Excalibur said are, they're no longer, the announcers are no longer being bullied into calling them Matthew and Nicholas. So we are officially back to Matt and Nick here. They were arriving to the building in an Uber. Maybe they found Jim Ross's phone in there. But they arrived to the building in an Uber because they no longer have EVP status. So they climb out of the car, they go into the trunk, they pull their bags out. I mean, they have to bring their own bags into the building. The horror. This is what I was hoping we would get coming out of their loss at All In. Don't just say that they lost their EVP title. Show us what that really means. So we had another one or two segments like this during the show, and I was sports entertained. We had Kyle Fletcher one-on-one against Mascara Dorado. Quick action from the start. Dorado looked good here, including a tornado dive out onto Fletcher on the floor. After that, Dorado missed a dive in the ring, and Fletcher caught him for a spinning sit-out side slam that took us into the commercial break. Later on, Dorado took too long to go up top. Fletcher booted him in the face. Could not get the avalanche brainbuster. Dorado got free. He had a corkscrew Hurricane Rana and a 450 splash for a near fall. Fletcher came back with a lawn dart into the corner and a sheer drop brainbuster for the win. He crawls over to the corner. There's a camera there, and he looks into the camera. He's spitting and slobbering all over himself, and he is directing his rage towards Dustin Rhodes. And they promoted the fact that Dustin, we'll hear from Dustin for the first time, the new TNT champion on Collision this week. He was not on the show tonight. But he looked into the camera and he said that Dustin stole the biggest moment of his life. It is now his mission to take everything from him. So this was a bounce back win for Fletcher. That's why it was even booked on the show in the first place. Let's get him a win. Let's get him in a match here and get him back to his winning ways. No doubt, had Adam Cole wrestled on Saturday, he would have walked into Dynamite tonight with the TNT Championship. They went in a different direction because they didn't want to just depress the fuck out of everybody after that speech that Adam Cole gave. They said, let's give the fans and let's give Dustin a nice moment in Texas. So he won the TNT Championship. All it does is delay the inevitable, because Kyle Fletcher is going to be the TNT champion. It's just a matter of when. How many weeks do we wait before we get there? And so instead of just being the champion, now he's got a little side quest until he beats Dustin and he wins the TNT title. So there really is no issue there because we're going to end up in the same place regardless. Now, Renee Paquette caught up with Matt and Nick Jackson in the back. We're back to the Bucks. She catches up with them. They were looking for their locker room, and she very gleefully reminded them that you lost it All In. You're no longer EVPs. Marina Shafir walks by, gives them the cold shoulder. So they stumble upon a door to their quote-unquote locker room. But there's a crew member who is labeling the door for Matt and Nick. He's like literally writing their names on there. And from the outside, it looked like a storage closet. Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, who are now together, they walk by saying, boy, it sucks to be you. And then Ricochet did his little bird noise and he walked off. So Don Callis shows up and he says that he thought it was an abomination that the company was treating them like a couple of jobbers for losing one match. I mean, isn't that kind of the story of the IWC? You lose one match and you're buried? You're a jobber? Isn't that what everybody always says? You're not allowed to lose a match without being buried. Since Kenny Omega is dead, he said, Maybe they can join forces. And Matt said, we're never going to join your family, but maybe we can talk. Callis said that he has like 15 family members who will be their friends. He gives the Bucks a big hug, and they reluctantly accept his offer to join forces. They need new friends. We got footage of the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, and MJF backstage at All In Texas. MVP says that he would like to celebrate, but there was nothing to celebrate over because they knew that they would retain the AEW tag team titles. We all did. I don't think there was a soul on earth who legitimately thought they were going to lose those tag team titles. And MVP, as I've pointed out before, he has done this before. He did it again here. He literally begged someone to step up and challenge them and take those titles from them. And specifically, he begged one of these legendary tag teams, step up. Anybody, step up. Yeah, I'm starting to think, maybe this match, if I am right, and I've been talking about this for a few weeks now, about Toronto, All Out, being the place to do Cope and Christian against FTR. Maybe it's not Cope and Christian against FTR. Maybe it's Cope and Christian, FTR, and the Hurt Syndicate in a three-way for the tag team titles. And I was talking a little bit even last night on TNT about this. Does the match need to be for the titles? It doesn't. It's a big enough attraction on its own. But I also don't think you could do... There's no other tag match on that show that you could do that is going to be bigger than Cope and Christian reuniting against FTR. You could put the Hurt Syndicate in there against anybody else, and it's going to be behind the Cope and Christian match in terms of interest. So either you find a way to get those titles on, let's say, FTR, before you get to All Out. It's 2 months away. Or you could simply add the Hurt Syndicate and have a three-way match. You've got 2 months to kind of build it out and make it all make sense. And you could have the tag team championships decided in that match and potentially even wind up on Cope and Christian, even without Lashley and Benjamin having to take the pinfall loss because you've got FTR in there. So I think it's, I won't say likely, but I think it's definitely possible that we don't get a straight-up tag match. It could very well end up being a three-way match, and they throw these guys in there. But then we heard from MJF. And MJF said that he was very happy that Hangman won the championship on Saturday. He showed off the title shot contract that he earned by winning the men's casino gauntlet match. Said that he would have pinned dictator Jon Moxley very easily in a weakened state. But he's happy that Hangman won. Said that he is the best in the world and he didn't need the contract to beat Hangman. He said the contract was his break glass in case of emergency. MJF said Paige can be the main character all he wants because he has no problem being the bad guy. Now, it's worth remembering that the last time they wrestled, they had one match back at Revolution, and Hangman won, which surprised me because I was kind of hoping and assuming that we would get a series of matches. We only got the one. So now's their chance to circle back around to it. MJF is looking to kind of get that win back. But, him mentioning the fact that this is really just for break glass in case of emergency. I wonder if maybe when they do finally decide who the next challenger is going to be, let's say it's a number one contenders match, maybe they go the route of MJF trying to earn a championship match and just leaving the contract alone. So he has that as an insurance policy. And maybe we get that first Hangman MJF match for the title, but not having anything to do with the contract. That's one way they could go with it. Again, they didn't really tease any direction for Hangman tonight. I certainly have no interest in seeing them go back to him and Moxley and doing a rematch. I suppose they could. It's not usually what Tony Khan does. And Moxley seems like he's got a target on his bald head or his back for with Darby Allin. So I don't know that he's getting another title match, but I don't know. Break glass in case of emergency sounds to me like he's going to maybe use that as an insurance policy or a backup if things don't go well the other way. We got an all-star match. Stop me if you've heard this one before. We got an all-star 8-man tag team match with Bandito, Brody King, Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey against Josh Alexander, Hechicero, and the Young Bucks. These are the kinds of matches that you do when you don't have a better idea as far as like what to do with some of the people who are involved here. You just kind of squish them all together in one big match. And it'd be one thing if we got an all-star tag match every now and then. We're getting them weekly at this point. We get them sometimes, and it's like you're really stretching the bounds of credibility when it comes to calling some of these matches all-star matches. So I'm just saying, maybe pump the brakes a little bit on that. But as the Bucks came out, they posed on the stage. They were waiting for their pyro, and there was none because they're not EVPs anymore. So they're waiting, and they turn around. There's no pyro. And then their entrance video changed to highlights of them losing the end of their match against Swerve and Ospreay on Saturday. And then footage of them arriving to the building earlier in their Uber. As they came to the ring, Justin Roberts gave a very unenthusiastic introduction for them and said that they used to be EVPs, but now they're not. So Alexander had Knight on his shoulders at ringside when Nick Jackson super kicked him from the apron into a Doomsday Device bump. Bucks hit their stomp and powerbomb combo on Bailey, and then Nick ran up the ropes and hit a corkscrew dive out onto Bandito and Brody on the floor. This was all before the first commercial break of the match. All of this happened. Come back from break. Knight was worked over by Hechicero before both started slugging it out, which led to a double down. Alexander hit a spinning torture rack slam. The Bucks wanted to get in and went for the EVP trigger, but they stopped because they realized, wait, we can't call it that anymore because we're not EVPs. So as they're realizing this and they're looking at each other, Knight capitalizes with a double drop kick and a hot tag to Speedball. Bailey missed a running shooting star on Nick, but he connected on a moonsault on the outside onto Matt. Back inside, Bailey escaped. More bang for your buck into the backflip double knees to both Bucks, who were basically, stacked up on each other. They were trying to pull him over for a pin. He broke free and just did the flip, dove and dropped the knees on both of them. King tagged in, mowed through most everybody before a tope wiped out the rest. Not before Bandito, though, made a blind tag. So the match broke down at this point. There was a 21-plex attempt by Bandito that got blocked by Alexander. That allowed the Bucks to hit an assisted Indie Taker. Hechicero sank in a sleeper on the Ring of Honor World Champion, and Bandito passed out, giving the win to the heels. I'll say this. If you love PWG, then you'll love this match. So it's no wonder the Bucks were in there. Just nonstop action, some big high spots. Really what it did, though, was it set Hechicero up as the next challenger for the Ring of Honor World Championship. So if you care about Ring of Honor, and Bandito's had some great matches. Again, he had a fantastic one the other night with Takeshita, who was not on this show. So, Bandito is fantastic. But this was more about who's next in line for a shot at that ROH title. And Hechicero laid claim to that here at the end of this match. So to that end, it was effective, if that's what they were trying to establish. Adam Copeland was out next to speak for the first time on his return Saturday at All In. He clarified that he did not come down to the ring at All In to save Christian Cage. He said that guy's an asshole, which they censored. He said Cage has tried to make his life miserable ever since he came to AEW, including cashing in his world title contract during his match with Moxley at Revolution, turning it into a triple threat match. And what happened next? He got choked out. That's what happened. He refused to listen to the patriarchy, and that's when things began to crumble down all around him. He did it out of jealousy. He couldn't see Cope win that title before him. And he doesn't blame Nick Wayne or Mother Wayne or Kip Sabian for what they did. He knows Christian is watching somewhere. He told him what happened to him at All In was going to happen. He predicted it. He told him that this is how things were going to turn out. So all he can hope is that somewhere Christian is pulling his giant cranium out of his ass, but he won't hold his breath. He said, no. I came back at All In to get my hands on FTR. Said 5 years ago, he got cleared to step foot in a wrestling ring again. He got his dream back. And who were the first two people that he called when he found out? FTR. Because he knew that they would whip him back into shape. They even talked about, man, imagine if we could form rated FTR and win the Trios Championships. And he said that he was in a different company and they were talking about this. Then he comes over finally to AEW, and now they can really make it happen. But within 2 weeks, they started to complain. Oh, they feel like they were in his shadow, and they're somehow being held back from winning the tag team titles. Says they took 4 months away from him with that injury angle from Dynasty. That might not sound like a lot to us, but every time he steps foot in the ring, it could be his last time. They took 4 months from him that he doesn't have. So he didn't come back to wrestle them. He came back for one thing, and that is to end FTR. FTR's music hits. Stokely Hathaway walks to the ring with a gaggle of security geeks. No FTR, though. He says he has a question for Cope. The weapon that he had at All In, Spike, is a liability. So much so that after the pay-per-view, AEW, Tony Khan, and Warner Media received 3 anonymous emails from someone about Cope's behavior. Moving forward, if Cope tries to interfere in FTR's matches, he will be fired. FTR are not scared of him. They're focused on the tag team titles. And Hathaway told Cope to go find a hobby and leave FTR alone. So Copeland said that Hathaway sounds like an angry Oompa Loompa who said that he can't get near FTR, but you never said anything about getting near you. So Cope took out 2 of the security geeks, and the other 2 on the outside, they ran for their lives up the ramp. Hathaway is in the ring. He's in the corner. He's got his back turned, and Copeland is setting up for a spear. Finally, Stokely turns around, and Cope spears him to the mat. This is the slow build. We're beginning the slow build to Cope and Christian. They've got 2 months if they wanted to do this match in Canada, and I'm sure that's the likely destination for this. They've got 2 months to make it happen. So we saw the beginnings of that on Saturday. This was the continuation of that. And yeah, look, they've got plenty of time to tell that story. Clearly, they are still not okay. How do we get to that point? FTR is obviously going to tie into this. Christian was having his issues with them. Copeland has a bone to pick with them. They're going to be the tie that binds here. That's why that's the match we're going to get. Even if you add in the Hurt Syndicate, it's all about Cope and Christian and FTR. That's really where the issue stems from. So this was fine. We didn't get I was hoping maybe we'd get a Christian appearance here, but Copeland came out. He kind of gave us his mission statement about why he did what he did, and now we go from here. We got a history of Mark Briscoe's run-ins with the Death Riders ahead of tonight's main event, but Briscoe still has his sights set on MJF. Briscoe now is backstage live and says that if it walks, if it talks, and it acts like a bitch, it's a bitch. MJF dodged him that entire casino gauntlet. The 2 things Briscoe needed to do was to whoop MJF's ass and get that title shot. And he was unable to do either of those things. He thought that he was going to be done with MJF, but they're just getting started. Briscoe made his debut a few years ago under unfortunate circumstances, and he brings up MJF mentioning his brother Jay a few weeks ago. You reap what you sow. Briscoe is going to make MJF pay for his sins. Again, the reports were that MJF wanted to work with Mark Briscoe. This is something that he personally requested. And it felt to me like the casino gauntlet was probably going to be it. Now it sounds like this is going to continue a little bit longer. But we go from one all-star match to a 4-way match with the winner receiving $100,000. He's giving money away again. With Thekla, Willow Nightingale, Kris Statlander, and Queen Aminata, who said on X that when she wins, the full $100,000 will go to an anti-ICE fundraiser. So she was already saying, this is where the money's going if I win this match. We got a fast start here by Thekla, who ran roughshod on everybody until Statlander caught a corner charge into a delayed vertical suplex. After a commercial break, Thekla was fighting off Statlander and Willow until Statlander avoided a head scissors, placed Thekla in the corner. Aminata came back only for Thekla to rise into a spider suplex. Thekla sent Statlander crashing into Willow before doing her spider walk and then hit a spear. Willow missed a swing. Aminata, though, connected with her headbutt on Thekla and spinning fisherman suplex on Statlander. Nightingale cleaned house very briefly. Statlander now was in with discus lariats until Aminata hit a headbutt. Everybody collapses, and this crowd was going crazy for this. They gave all these women a standing ovation. Aminata and Thekla and Statlander and Nightingale, they were paired off. Statlander hit a blue thunder bomb. Aminata hit an air raid crash. Nightingale hit a doctor bomb on Thekla. Statlander, though, pulls out Aubrey Edwards, breaks up the pin. So she and Willow end up rolling up the ramp. Meanwhile, back inside, Aminata hits a neck breaker and a double stomp off the top on Thekla. Only gets 2. Aminata now is looking down the aisle. She's looking down the ramp. Here comes Sky Blue. And she's there to run distraction. She, gets up on the apron. That allows Julia Hart to suddenly appear in the ring behind Aminata. And Queen Aminata turns around and she gets misted right in the face. Thekla connects with a curb stomp and gets the win, even though Aminata's left shoulder was clearly up off the mat. Referee didn't see it. Taz said that Thekla should Venmo Blue and Julia some of her winnings because all 3 ladies obviously worked together here, and they all stood tall over a fallen Queen Aminata. You would think for someone who just won $100,000 that Thekla would have been super excited about this. But the way that she reacted and the way the match ended, it was just like any other match. It's almost like these dumb stipulations don't really mean anything. But this was good. This was some good action here. Thekla and Aminata, they've had this minor sort of undercard feud going on now for several weeks. I think they were going at it in the gauntlet as well. And so they picked up where they left off recently here in this match. And now we have this new pairing with Thekla seemingly joining forces with Julia Hart and Sky Blue. If they're going to continue the issue with Thekla and Aminata, she will now need some friends. Statlander and Willow would seem to make the most sense. If their issue is going to continue, which I would imagine based on what they did here, it is going to. And it's not like they're doing anything else at the moment with Statlander and Willow, so they could certainly provide some help if Aminata needs help. Now, after a break, we went up to one of the balconies. It looked like the balcony where maybe the former president from many, many years ago was sitting when he was assassinated. Good old Honest Abe. It wasn't Honest Abe, though. It was the AEW Women's World Champion. It was Timeless Toni Storm up in the balcony, overlooking the rest of the theater. And they used that black and white effect again. So she was blacked out. Most of the screen was black and white, but anybody, including her, wearing red, the red shows through on screen. So I like that effect. And so Toni says, enough of this gay banter. This whore you all adore. This slut you can't rebut. This bitch you want to itch, she says. This skank you want to spank. This trollop you can't wallop. This tramp is still the champ. Mercedes Money, thank you for going all in with me. We did everything we set out to do, but in case you forgot, I did say before that if she made one false move, she would eat her alive. Well, darling, you were delicious. Now, if you want to come back for seconds, and I'm sure you will, then from my lips to yours, this buffet is always open, darling. Now, I am sad to announce that Luther was injured in the line of duty. Everybody boos. So, very upset about Luther not being there tonight. I can't tell you what happened, but it requires reattachment surgery. That's tough. And now my tits are pointing to the future. In this company, in this business, on this planet, it actually felt here like she was stalling for something. And as it turned out, she was. I think the timing was a little off. Finally, though, they were interrupted. She was interrupted by Athena and Billy Starks, who were backstage. Athena said Toni will be the wide-hipped heifer that no one will remember, because soon she will be the AEW Women's World Champion, because, of course, she won the contract on Saturday. She said, and Luther, oh my God, I'm so sorry he's hurt, but Mina is too. Mina decided to step into her company without her permission, and she decided to take her out. And that means no one is left to save you. And when she decides to execute this, and she holds up the contract, she goes, what's it going to be, Toni? Are you going to die here in Chicago? Or maybe in London? Or maybe Toronto? And it looked like she signed the contract. We just didn't get any indication of when she plans on actually cashing in for this title shot. Because remember, those are the rules with these contracts. That was the whole thing with Christian Cage. He couldn't cash it in until he signed it. So it looked like she signed it here, so we don't have to worry about that. But she said, it's time to stop looking for your happy endings because your demise and your murderer are here. And Toni said, very well, because the video cut off at that point. She says, very well. If you are ready, I will be sweaty. If you are willing, I will be thrilling. And if you are able, I will bend you over the table because I am timeless. There's only one Toni Storm. No matter what this woman says, no matter what this woman comes out there and does, always gets a great reaction. Everybody loves Toni Storm. She's great. They announced Toni is going to wrestle Billy Starks on Dynamite next week, non-title, obviously. So I get the sense, more so than Hangman and MJF, that we are going to get that Toni and Athena match a lot sooner. And I just hope when Athena cashes in, I would love to see her win, right? She may cash in and lose, like Christian did earlier this year. I hope she wins. But even if she doesn't, I really hope this right here is her ticket to AEW television and out of the obscurity, frankly, that she's been in on Ring of Honor TV behind the paywall. Like, this needs to be a regular thing now where she's not just on Collision in a bunch of all-star matches, but she is officially part of the AEW women's roster. I don't want to see her cash in the contract, lose, and then go back to purgatory. So finally, it took long enough, but it looks like we're going to get Athena as part of this roster on a regular basis. We go backstage, and we have Kip Sabian, who is standing there with Mother Wayne and Nick Wayne, who is seated in front of them. And Mother Wayne, my God. Surprised she didn't knock her son off the chair there that he's sitting in. Sabian said that he will support his brother Nick Wayne under the matriarch. Mother Wayne says that these are her boys. Nick is their prodigy. And then Nick Wayne speaks and he says Christian is past his expiration date to the point that he became a liability. Cage used to question Nick for how many world titles that he had won. How many titles did you win? Right? That's what he used to ask him. Nick says, I'm only 20. The question should be, how many am I going to win? How much better could I possibly get? Says Christian Cage created this monster. Now he and AEW have to live with him as the new face of TNT and the new face of AEW now and forever. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you, as you see on screen, the matriarch. It's no longer the patriarchy. I guess now this is the matriarchy now. It's fine with me. She's going to lead the way. We had Kazuchika Okada, the new unified champion. He was in action next. His first match since becoming unified champion on Saturday, he wrestled Rafael Quintero. Don't ask who, it's not really relevant here. Don Callis came out on stage to introduce Okada. Callis had the international title on one shoulder and the continental title on the other. He was out there looking like Paul Heyman when Roman Reigns had all three titles there for a while, right? He had the WWE title, he had the Universal title, and they created that new belt for him. And Heyman was carrying around the other two, so they're doing that now with Don Callis. But then Okada came out wearing the new unified belt. And the first thing I noticed is that he has new theme music. Now, he has kept the coin drop because you can't get rid of the coin drop. But I would have said the same about his actual theme song. Unfortunately, his Rainmaker theme is no more. How are you going to take away his... It'd be like Shawn Michaels coming out on TV and there's no sexy boy. It would be like Shawn Michaels coming out. Who's the... oh my God, not Poppy. The other one. The other artist that they were bringing in occasionally on NXT. Sexy Red. It would be like Shawn Michaels ditching Sexy Boy. And instead he now comes to the ring to Sexy Red. Do you know how horrible that would be? That would be terrible. So just the idea that they would get rid of his iconic theme is it's a sad day. It really is. But they have Def Rebelled him. They have Def Rebelled this man. Their reach knows no bounds. It is spreading now to other companies. And so I said this on social media. There were some people who got very upset about this. How dare you, they said. How dare you compare his new song to Def Rebel? No sense of humor, these people. That's how you could tell the sickos apart. They have no sense of humor. You just got to know how to push all the right buttons. Now, to be fair, I looked up the song. It is not terrible. It is not Def Rebel bad. It is by a Japanese rock band called One OK Rock. Song is called Curiosity. If you are curious to go check it out. But just Okada coming out to anything but the Rainmaker theme is going to take some getting used to here. Sexy Kurt. I'll tell you what, Sexy Kurt is the only thing I'm willing to accept in place of Sexy Boy. That was quite great. Yes, if Shawn Michaels wanted to come out to Kurt Angle's version of Sexy Kurt, I would be okay with that. So you want to know what happened here in this match, right? That's why you're here. Big boot, drop kick, Rainmaker, done. Maybe a minute. After the match, Callis said that Okada has something to say. Gets on the mic. He says, Swerve Strickland screwed his friends, the Young Bucks. You bitch. So, Strickland's music hits. He comes out with Prince Nana, and he goes, yeah, I did that. What are you going to do about it, bitch? Callis whispered something to Okada. They both retreated, with Okada staring down Strickland from the ramp. So I guess we know who Okada is going to be defending that Unified Championship against next. Maybe that's the Forbidden Door match. Fine with me. Again, that's a new direction that they're moving in here. Kenny Omega was referenced on this show, but he was not on the show. And I don't think Kenny Omega needs to be on the show every single week. Kenny Omega is in a position now where, especially with the health issues he's had in the past, I don't need to see him wrestling on these shows every week. I would save him in that role. Honestly, the role that a CM Punk is in right now in WWE. CM Punk does not wrestle weekly on TV. He will have matches on Raw occasionally. He had one this week. I mean, he came in at the very end of the gauntlet, but we've seen him have the occasional TV match. For the most part, they save him for those special events. And I think that's the role that Kenny should be in going forward. You save him for those special programs, those special matches, those special occasions. Preserve him for the important matches that people actually want to see. When we're going to see him back on TV, I don't know. But I don't really see the need to rush him back anytime soon. And as far as Okada and Swerve, I like that direction. Something different. Ospreay, they did the injury angle with him on Saturday where he got taken out much the same way Samoa Joe was. So we really didn't get any updates on them, which was kind of weird because, I mean, they had chairs wrapped around their necks and they were stomped on and had to be carried out. So they didn't really give us much of a medical update on either one of them. So I don't know how long they're going to keep them out for, but we got a big pay-per-view coming up in London in a few weeks. So I suspect we'll get Will Ospreay back on TV fairly soon. And the main event. Hold on here. Hulk Hogan has made an appearance here on AEW Dynamite.
You suck.
Even though Tony Khan many years ago said that Hogan was banned. I think he said Hogan and his wife, his ex-wife, were both banned, I believe, from Dynamite. But he snuck in to the Aragon Ballroom, and they just booed him out of the building. Thank you, Bobber. The main event was Hangman Page, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Mark Briscoe against Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. Hobbs wasted no time attacking Claudio, the man who put Samoa Joe on the shelf. After a break, Hobbs caught a diving Yuta until Moxley made the save with a hair pull, which only pissed off Hobbs. Hobbs went to go chase Yuta. Marina Shafir, though, stood in his way. That gave just enough time for Claudio to hit a chop block. Shafir paintbrushed Hobbs right in front of the referee. Paul Turner didn't do a fucking thing about it. He just watched. Moxley sank in a rear naked choke and then drove Hobbs into the ring steps. Back inside, Claudio delivered a giant swing on Hobbs. Before Moxley finally entered the match, he delivered one boot and then quickly tagged out to Wheeler Yuta. And he had bandages, by the way, all over his forehead from the Texas death match. Briscoe got a hot tag from Hobbs. He lit up Moxley with chops, Claudio with palm strikes. Enziguri on Moxley as Yuta distracted the referee. That allowed Marina Shafir to jump up and rake the eyes of Briscoe. And at 5 minutes past the hour, we had one last commercial break. They actually took another commercial break, and we were in the overrun of this show. So when they came back, Moxley got a cheap shot in on Hangman before hitting a pile driver on Briscoe. Yuta and Claudio swarmed Hobbs at ringside. That left Briscoe all alone. Briscoe bit free from a superplex attempt, hit a shotgun dropkick. Hangman rose up, made the hot tag to a huge reaction, and he was still limping, selling the effects of the Texas death match on Saturday. But he dropped Yuta with a pop-up powerbomb for 2. Page wanted a buckshot, but Moxley flew in to rake the eyes. Yuta ran in with a Busaiku knee, only for Briscoe to fly in with Froggy Bow. Claudio ducked the buckshot, tried a neutralizer. Page got a jackknife, and he got the flash pin for the win. Now, when the match was over, Moxley blindsided Hangman. Death Riders kept up the attack. Briscoe and Hobbs, they got sent outside. All of a sudden, camera aims up, and we see Darby Allin in what I would just best describe as the rafters here of the Aragon Ballroom. They put a spotlight on him, and he's standing up there, just like Daddy Sting, looking down here at Jon Moxley. And that was enough for Moxley to become distracted enough for Hangman to fly in with the buckshot lariat. And the Death Riders retreat as Hangman and Hobbs and Briscoe stand tall with Darby staring down Moxley. This was pretty lethargic stuff here in this main event, I think, for the most part. It did pick up in the last 90 seconds, 2 minutes maybe. Not really, I mean, to me, not much of a big main event otherwise. It's good that Hangman got the win, at least, even though it was one of those flash pins. They have gone full Sting now with Darby Allin. And I know this is not the first time that we've seen him in the rafters or rappelling, but he came back on Saturday, rappelling from the ceiling in Arlington. Now we see him on this show, and they go off the air with him up in the rafters looking down at Jon Moxley. I mean, they are just following the Sting playbook. It's like Tony Khan has brought in Sting to do some creative for the company. Maybe he's going to book Darby's creative, right? Mercedes has like her writer that she works with, Jennifer Pepperman. Maybe Sting has been brought in by Tony Khan, and he's going to help book Darby, and he's going to follow the Sting playbook. Here's what we're going to do. A few weeks from now, we're going to have a whole army of like Darbys come down and like Darby face paint. You won't know who the real Darby is, though, right? We'll just go down the line. Of course, I can't neglect the greatest thing that Sting ever did, which was in TNA, sitting in the crowd in full paint with a Sting mask on. I don't know if they could replicate that. But yeah, they've gone full Sting here with the Darby stuff. Darby and Mox is one direction. Hangman and MJF is obviously another. We just don't know when they're going to get to that. Are they going to go right into it soon? Does he call his shot? For someone like MJF to call his shot in advance would be just the antithesis of everything this MJF character is about. So I just can't see that happening. Being sneaky is exactly the sort of thing that he would do. But again, they gave no indication of who would be next in line here for Hangman. Forbidden Door is the next pay-per-view, so I suppose it's always possible that they could put Hangman in there with somebody that's not even in the company. Maybe a champion representing some other promotion, New Japan, CMLL. I don't really have an appetite for that, but that's sort of the theme of Forbidden Door. So we'll see. Or there was another thought that I had. There's no way Will Ospreay is not back in time for that pay-per-view. Do they do Hangman and Ospreay for the championship in London? Because Ospreay's not going to win that. So do you send Ospreay to London in a big title match against another babyface and have him fall short? Yeah, because eventually he'll win that championship. It may well be at Wembley next year. I don't really see the harm in doing that match now, even though he would lose. It would be a huge match. He'd have that crowd, behind him, and he just falls a little bit short. It could become part of his story arc, going into 2026. Otherwise, what are you doing with Will Ospreay on that show? Because Swerve now has gone off with Okata. I thought maybe there was a chance they would keep Swerve and Ospreay as a team, together for a little bit. Maybe even to go after the Hurt Syndicate. But if that's not the case, do you have Ospreay wrestling Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP title, which is a match that's been done like 1,000 times before? Not that it wouldn't be great, but like it's been done to death. Who else do you program him with? Hangman and Ospreay would be a big match for that Forbidden Door show. And it could be as simple as Hangman wanting to pay him back for the assist that he gave him at All In. Like, you literally put your neck on the line for me. And I think you've earned the right to challenge for this championship. There you go. That could be, the setup for that match could be as simple as that. So let the speculation continue, because we still don't know what's next for the Hangman. We know what's next for Collision, though. Collision this Saturday. Actually, is it this Saturday or is it another Thursday Collision? I don't know. They've done a bunch of Thursday ones. Now I don't know now if it's on Thursday or Saturday. But we'll hear from the new TNT champion, Dustin Rhodes. Ricochet will wrestle AR Fox. Bandito, Jet Speed, and Mascara Dorada take on Hechicero, Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, and Rocky Romero. So another tag match. Roosh against Katsuyori Shibata. Taya Valkyrie against Alex Windsor. And Megan Bayne against Ty Mello, with everyone banned from ringside. It is Saturday. Okay, it's on Saturday. Well, that certainly sounds like a show that is going to happen. And that will be taking place this Saturday. Here's the Twitter poll. What did you think of Dynamite after All In Texas? 46.7% thumbs up, 53.3% thumbs down. That is a thumbs down score from all of you for Dynamite tonight. Not good. Not good. Yeah, JP, I mean, they did an injury angle with Ospreay on Saturday, so he's going to be off TV at least for this week. Maybe next week, too. But I can't see him being longer than that.
Valhalla, it's Vintage Coal Talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Brisbane Bomber himself, Havili, showing himself tonight here on the Dynamite stream. Havili, how are you, sir? Hey, Q-Dog, thank you for being a member. Good to hear from you, Havili. I appreciate you, brother. Gonna get to all your messages now. If you got something to say, you better say it quick. Get them on in. Duff's Vids. What's going on, Duff's? I saw you last night. Duff's Vids. Why are pigs so bad at soccer? They are always hogging the ball. It's good. He's got more. A woodpecker visited a petrified forest. He found it impeccable. Another $4.99 from Duffs. He's on a roll here. I gave my seat to a blind person on the bus yesterday. That's how I lost my job as a bus driver. Terrible. Oh, man. That bus just went right off that fucking cliff, man. No survivors. Why did they cut off the Wi-Fi at the farm? Because the cows kept downloading music. Okay, that's just not acceptable there. You were on a roll, and like that bus, you just went crashing off the cliff. Death Scythe. Thank you. I'm getting a double-digit super chat here. Oh, Brie mode is sick again, I hear. Always when I come to this screen is when that happens. Bobbert, thank you for the $25 Brie mode. It's a little under the weather there. But Death Scythe says, here's an idea WWE can do for WrestleMania 42. Dude, we're not even at SummerSlam yet. People are booking WrestleMania 42. Punk beats Cody and Seth returns to cash in. What better way for Seth to return and stick it to Punk than by stealing the WWE title from him after he just won it in the main event of WrestleMania Night 2? Well, then he wouldn't be living up to his promise now, would he? Because Seth Rollins has said he will make it his personal mission to make sure Punk is never a world champion. So you can't allow Punk to win the title. It would go against everything that he believes in. He's got to take it from him before he even has the chance to win it. I think there's a very good chance we're going to get that at SummerSlam. Forget WrestleMania. GMB, please do Naomi's catchphrase in the deep voice again. Naomi's catchphrase, huh?
Proceed with caution.
She is like a cartoon character. I mean, I like Naomi, but it's like something out of an Inspector Gadget cartoon. Dried Chicken says AEW has reestablished themselves as the alternative wrestling brand. Well, you don't see WWE running places like the Aragon Ballroom. Of course, they're not running the Aragon Ballroom because they're selling out everywhere they go. Why would they sell out the Aragon Ballroom with 1,100 people when they could fill fucking 12,000 seats in a building? But nevertheless, I do like the ambiance of some of these smaller venues that they've been running. But never forget the reason they're running these venues in the first place is because they're just not able to sell out or even fill up a lot of those larger venues. If they were, that's what they would be running. Especially in Chicago. Chicago was like home base for them outside of Jacksonville. They were running Chicago so often, it was only a matter of time before they burned out that market. So they're doing a residency there in a small venue because they just can't fill the bigger ones. You know, for a pay-per-view, sure. But for Dynamite and Collision, it's not going to happen. Duff's Vids, I own a DeLorean. I drive it from time to time. Also, my grandpa's final words before he kicked the bucket. I wonder how far I can kick this bucket. It went pretty far. Dried Chicken says, Punk versus Cena 2. Naomi versus Jade 3. Rhea versus... What is with all these sequels? Rhea versus Tiffany. Gunther versus Cody 2. Io versus Jay. What is this for? Is this for Perth or is this for WrestleMania? I'm not sure what event this is in reference to. The WWE Perth will be interesting when it comes to the creative direction. You mentioned it will be champions versus champions on that show. No, I said that's what they've done before. I hope they don't do that. But that was the format they followed, was it last year, I believe? Right, when they had that Cody versus Gunther match? You know, that was in Saudi. This time it's in Perth. But if they follow the same format, it may end up being champions against champions again. Which, honestly, I don't like that. We got Bobbert with the $40 drop. Unpopular opinion. I think Jon Moxley should get the world title back for a short run because I think Darby Allin, his first world title win should be against Moxley. Maybe at World's End. You're right. It is a very unpopular opinion. I disagree with that opinion. If Darby Allin wanted to win the World Championship, then he should have stuck around. But he wanted to climb Mount Everest, and so congrats. He got to climb Mount Everest. But in the meantime, the world moves on. Like when Tony Khan made that comment on Q101 when he was asked, was Hangman always the plan? And he hesitated, and he said, I'm not going to answer that. At first, I thought he was referring to Ospreay, that maybe he was going to go with Ospreay to win the Owen and not Hangman. But now I'm convinced that he was referring to Darby. That the plan would have been to put the title on Darby. Darby went away, and so they had to pivot. You know what? Tony Khan and AEW can't wait for Darby to come back, after playing Mountaineer. You got to move on. To put the championship back on Jon Moxley would be a terrible idea. That would be a very big mistake. You can do Moxley and Darby without the championship on the line. And if Darby is going to have his time, then his time will come. If he wanted it that badly, then he should have stuck around. Evidently, he didn't care because he's not a mark. He doesn't give a shit. He's like, you know what? I think this would be fun.
Do you feel him, sir?
I think I'll go climb a mountain. I don't care about the fucking belt. I'm not a mark for the belt. Good for him. Food Hive. I sat next to JR at the bar in the same hotel after All In. He was limping and moving slowly. He was in good spirits. Didn't think he was injured. Well, evidently he didn't think so either, or else I would hope he would have gone to the emergency room if he was hurt that badly. But, again, he said he fell in his hotel room and didn't have his phone because he realized he had left his phone in an Uber, so he couldn't communicate with anybody. Which I don't really understand because you've got a phone in your hotel room, but I guess he just went to bed and he's a little sore, but otherwise okay. I would assume if he would have broken something, he would know it. But this is not the first time that he has sustained a fall. He had a really bad fall in his home not that long ago. Because I remember he was on the podcast that he does with Conrad, and he had this huge black eye. And that's where you start to get into some real trouble there, because when you get to that age, like, one fall is just, it could be catastrophic. Like, that could be the end of you. And he's fallen a bunch of times now, so I don't know. I hope he's okay. Bobby's World gifted a channel membership to Renero. Ed Swoggle with 30 months of membership says, with Cody leaving for Street Fighter, wouldn't it make sense for Seth to cash in on Cody after he beat Cena at SummerSlam instead of Punk or Gunther? Not if Cody's going to be gone for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's really not that big of a deal. You could do that. Then you would have to shift Seth and his entire crew over to SmackDown. You have to really make some roster moves. They've already done that with Naomi cashing in. Now she's on Raw. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but I think if Cody was going to be gone filming a movie for, a month, 2 months, 3 months, sure. He's part of an ensemble cast in this Street Fighter movie. I don't know that Guile is going to have a huge role in the movie. I know they're going to be filming in Australia, so he'll have to fly down there. Roman too, by the way. I can't imagine Cody is down there for very long. I think it's one of these Liv Morgan Bad Lieutenant things where she's in and then she's out. I don't think you book around that as if it's going to be a lengthy absence. Food Hive, $4.99. Says, I just so happened to be a regular at the bar in the same hotel the wrestlers were in and met so many of them casually. No pics, just vibes. You mean to tell me that you actually took the time to enjoy the experience instead of trying to film everything like everybody does these days? Nobody enjoys moments anymore. They're just amateur photographers, so they're looking through their fucking phone to get the best shot. Like they're paparazzi. Meanwhile, you're not enjoying the moment. Food Hive took the time to enjoy the moment here. That's how you should do it. The big fundamental, Tim Duncan. How tall do you think The Undertaker was in his prime? I think in his prime, because he's probably shrunk a little bit, right? With some of the surgeries and You get older, you shrink. I think at his peak, I would say he probably was a legit 6'10", 6'9", 6'10", somewhere in that range. I don't think he was ever 7 feet, but I think he was close enough. Food Hive says Okada's new theme is fire. Okay. Bender McSimpson, Thekla is very good. These matches for random amounts of money is either a joke that only Tony Khan finds funny, or it has to be leading to something. Is that right? No, it doesn't have to be leading to anything at all. I don't think it's leading to anything. Edkin NJ, thoughts on the All-Star Game overtime swing-off. As soon as we ended TNT last night, I was like, I wonder, I mean, some people in the chat had mentioned it, so I kind of knew something had gone down. So first thing I did was I went and watched it. I thought it was fun. It's better than the game ending in a fucking tie. I think other All-Star games can learn from some of the changes that MLB has made. So I like it. Dried Chicken says if Cope had his own soda brands, it would be called Cope Zero, Coca-Cola, Diet Cope, and Canada Dry Cope. For cocktails, I would try a Jack and Cope. You try a Jack and Cope. I'm going to stick to the original. Coca-Cola. Hey, Bobbert, thank you for the 23. Just showing some love, no message. Dried Chicken, my reaction to Mother Wayne, in the words of Johnny Bravo, oh mama. Think about the All-Star game, though. I'm not shocked. Didn't Pete Alonso have like a 3-run homer during the game? I'm not shocked that it was Edwin Diaz who came in and blew the fucking game to even send it to a swing-off in the first place. As soon as I saw him, I don't know, just something within me said, okay, this game is tied. And sure enough. You know that song called Stacy's Mom Has Got It Going On. Well, goodbye, Stacy. It's Mother Wayne. I said I'd love to get a cup of coffee with Mother Wayne. I don't even drink coffee. Havili, number 15 in the, he's talking about the SummerSlam countdown that WWE is doing on YouTube. Number 15 is the Fatal 4-Way match. Samoa Joe versus Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. That was a good match. Actually, a really good match from what I remember. What was that, 2016? Are you going to watch WWE Unreal? I'm going to watch the first episode, and then I will decide if I'm going to watch the entire series. First episode, that's that new reality show behind the scenes that they're airing on Netflix. I think it starts July 29th, which is a Tuesday. I will probably check it out the next day and see if I'm going to stick with it. But the answer is probably yes. Uffman Entertainment, 51 months of membership. It's like that $51 coal tar super chat. I think many would agree with me when I ask, can you please make that Mother Wayne photo a super chat? It will make you millions. I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll make me as much as the Learning Tree did, but I might have to. I might have to make it one of the random super chats. The Juliet says a 49er lineman is dating Brock's daughter. I saw their photo together. Boy, that guy's got some brass balls, let me tell you. Knowing who the father is, you better be on your best behavior, buddy. Bobbert with another 25. Man, Bobbert's on fire tonight. Project Libertad, you are going to hate this, but Seth is going to build a team for War Games against Punk and probably the OG Bloodline again. It's War Games season, everybody. That means the Bloodline will be in War Games. I mean, Punk wanted to, if Rollins wanted to build a team, I don't object to that. Can we get something other than just the bloodline, though, in War Games for a change? Arabian Night, maybe we get Hangman against Zack Sabre Jr., champion against champion at Forbidden Door. Yeah. Yeah, champion against champion, non-title, though. You can't have a clean winner there. Fried Chicken says, fuck it. Just a couple of jokes. Did you see the movie about the hot dog? It was an Oscar wiener.
You suck.
Oscar wiener. Gold Matthew. What do you think and know of Shuri? Never seen her before, and during All In, I told my friend she's giving me Japanese Becky Lynch vibes. Japanese Becky Lynch. I don't know too much about her. I've only seen a handful of her matches. Apparently, she's undergoing elbow surgery. I don't know if she got hurt in that match or how she hurt her elbow, but she either had surgery or is about to have surgery, or maybe it's a surgery. Is it Shuri? I'm sorry. I can't tell you anything more than that. I don't really know too much about her otherwise, other than she's a very good pro wrestler. Dried Chicken, why did the skeleton go to the barbecue? For the spare ribs. Oh, that can't be the last one. We're ending on that. We're ending on that terrible joke. Come on now. Derek for the win here at the very end. $5 super chat. Hope Tony Khan listens to social media and changes that Okata theme back immediately. Just like he did with Mina's theme and the Pointer Sisters intro. Oh yeah, Tony definitely pays attention to social media. He's put the kibosh on some songs a few times. So I think if enough people bully him on social media, maybe he'll change his mind. Again, if you go listen to the song, like I'm sure on its own, from what I heard, it's not a terrible song. I just, unless there was a specific reason for it, like he requested it, or all of a sudden for some reason they don't have the rights to use it, which I can't believe. It's just one of those iconic themes that you just don't touch. Arabian Night with news TNA. Of TNA getting a media rights deal. Where do you think they land? Well, they're in negotiations. Nothing is official yet. I talked about this on the podcast this week. He says, I say a 3-year, $25 million deal with the CW, and they go live once a month and maybe a library on Tubi. They're not getting $25 million. You can forget that. They think that they could get $10 million. I'm not even sure about that. For the numbers they pull, 25 million is I mean, that's just a pipe dream, I think. So I don't know where they land. They said that they are talking to linear channels. I don't know if they're talking to streaming services. I mean, I could see something ending up on Tubi, I guess. But what network they would be talking to right now, I don't know. The landscape has changed so much since they were on Spike all those years ago. If they can get a deal comparable to that, that would be huge. Because it really comes down to television exposure. I've said this for years about TNA. They will only grow so much if they stay on Access TV. They need a better outlet. They need more eyeballs on the product. And so therefore they need a bigger platform. It's like, you know, you're on Access TV. It's nice that you have that home you could fall back on because Anthem owns it. But it's like you're in your own little echo chamber there. You got to break out and get on a bigger platform so that more people can sample the product, and hopefully you make new fans that way. Bobby's World just gifted a channel membership to Tim Ryan Shorts. Thank you, Bobby. Dried Chicken, one last joke. Oh boy. What do zombies like to eat at the barbecue? Halloweenies. Throw those tomatoes.
You suck.
Throw those tomatoes. I'm sorry. Anyway, we had a very busy weekend of content. I hope that you, if you have not checked it out, that you go back and check it out. That includes my All in Texas review, my Evolution review, episode 920 of the Sound Off. You'll also notice now on the channel under playlists or even the podcasts tab, all of the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and Dynamite reviews. And pay-per-view / PLE reviews are organized for this year under their own playlist. And now, because I don't believe we were before, but now all of that content should be accessible as well through YouTube Music. Because it was brought to my attention that none of the stuff was pushing out to YouTube Music because I didn't have it classified as a podcast. It's just a special designation, special playlist you have to create for each thing, and I hadn't done it. So that's been taken care of. So if you're interested, you can go check it out on there. And the next time I am with you live is going to be Friday night. We're going to be talking SmackDown. I believe John Cena is on the show this week. I believe this is the only SmackDown that John Cena will be on for the entire month of July. And I don't think he's back on the show until the night before SummerSlam. So that will be Friday night. B Money, channel member for 25 months. Where does the Gorilla Monsoon clip on the podcast intro talking about Pat Patterson come from? Always cracks me up when I hear it. Is that Pat Patterson? Holy mackerel, did he get fat? That's from the Coliseum video match between Bret and Owen Hart and the Steiner brothers, which was posted recently actually to the WWE Vault, and they took the clip out. So when the match is over and there's a big brawl and all the officials get in the ring and Pat Patterson gets in the ring, you can hear where they cut that part out. I'm like, they cut the best part out. That's where it's from, though. But thank you, B Money. Anyway, be well. Stay safe. I will see you guys back here on Friday night for the SmackDown review. I appreciate all the love and support. And I will see you guys back here very soon. CNM says, was thinking about going to Jersey for SummerSlam, but man, I spent way less going across the country to All In. Yeah, no shit. I mean, I told people even before All In, like, you can go see All In for a hell of a lot cheaper than any other much smaller WWE sort of quote-unquote B-show PLE. And, I mean, there were plenty of seats available, obviously, for that show as well. But, yeah, these shows, I mean, the way they're priced, it's astronomical. I mean, you really have to be a fan to want to go to one of these shows. If you're by yourself, you're going with friends, it's a little bit different. But, again, if you're a family and you're going with 2 kids, 3 kids, like, good luck. Good luck. And that doesn't include, of course, whatever parking and foods you might buy or merch they might buy. I mean, they're making money hand over fist on these people. Duff's Vids. Doctor, what's the problem? Patient, I have a problem with my ear. Doctor, are you sure? Patient, yes, I'm definite. He's definite. Uffman with a 5. 3 SmackDowns before the SummerSlam, and Cena will show up on 2. Yep. And it's Kris, gifted a membership to the Winston Slip. Let's do one last check here, and would you look at that? 412 likes. We got a buzzer beater here for Be the Booker. Telling you, man, this is unacceptable. We should have hit 400 half an hour ago. But we hit it now. So let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Oh, you guys waiting until the last minute here with this. So we are getting Be the Booker after all tonight. Looked very dicey there for a while. But let's do it. Let's do it. Let's start with the Toxic Turtles. We go from the Toxic Spider on Dynamite tonight. We have the Toxic Turtles. And yes, this was a real thing in WWE. Totally original idea too, you could tell. They're not copying off anybody. I loved it in the because I think that might have been the only time they wrestled. Their match was, I think, on one of the WWE unreleased DVDs, and there's a point in the match where one of them lands on his back. So he's on his shell, and he can't move, and he's just sort of flailing his limbs around. The other guy has to come in and overturn him so that he can move again. I appreciate the commitment to the gimmick. Toxic Turtles against Cody and Dustin Rhodes, in this case, Cody Rhodes and Goldust against the Toxic Turtles. You know what? Fuck it. I'm giving that the bell. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That's a win right there. You thought I was going to go the other way, didn't you? Maybe it's the Ninja Turtle fan in me from when I was a kid. We have Lyra Valkyria with her wings. She's flying to SummerSlam to win back that Intercontinental Championship. That's where she's going. Lyra Valkyria has really come into her own these last couple of months. Lyra against Mandy Rose, the former NXT Women's Champion. Kind of on the edge there, but I'll allow it. I'll accept. Looks like we may be on our way to a clean sweep here. We didn't even think we were going to do Be the Booker. Now we're about to sweep. All right, main event time. We begin with Kenny Omega, the former AEW World Champion and International Champion, and Tag Team Champion, actually. He's a Triple Crown winner. He's never held the TNT title, though. Kenny Omega. All right. Now this feels like a main event. Oh, yeah. Kenny Omega against Ken Shamrock, the world's most dangerous man. We did it. We did it. We swept them on out of here. Kenny Omega and Ken Shamrock. Now, there's a main event that we have not booked before. Prime Ken Shamrock does not get enough credit for being as good as he was. I'm not saying that he was a Bret Hart or a Shawn Michaels, but Ken Shamrock was one of those memorable figures from the Attitude Era who could go, especially with the right opponent, could go out there and have a very good professional wrestling match. Dried Chicken says, Timeless Toni and Naomi are both killing it in the women's pro wrestling scene. I wish they had an interaction in public while in character. Well, they all watch each other. I mean, Rhea Ripley made a comment recently about, I think someone maybe was doing a Toni Storm cosplay, and she commented on Timeless Toni. They all watch each other. I'm sure Timeless Toni has a lot of fans in that locker room. But they're both great. And Arabian Night, $25 million for 3 years total. Would Tubi be an upgrade? I don't know what, I mean, I think they've claimed that Access is in 30 million homes. I'm guessing Tubi is in a lot more than that. Tubi might actually be an upgrade. I think it would be. 25 million though for 3 years, he's clarifying. Maybe. I'm still skeptical, but maybe. Let me see here. So that would be a little over 8 million a year. I'm still not convinced. It's a little more palatable than 10 million a year. Maze the Great. You should consider upping the Be the Booker goals with how many people watch the stream. Should be no less than at least 500, let alone... All right, well, Maze wants us to increase it to 500. We'll be doing Be the Booker once a month. Everybody knows who to blame now if we do that. Everybody knows who to blame. We'll see. Maybe I'll consider it for Friday. That is the next time I will see you. By the way, as we speak, because I'm getting out of here, as we speak, Jelly Roll is guest hosting Jimmy Kimmel. And I believe Randy Orton is coming out next. He is his guest. I am sure there's an angle that's about to come. So if you want to go check that out, I think that's about to go down on ABC. I will ABC ya on Friday for the SmackDown post show. Until then, take care, guys.